have our third presentation, Mr. Andrew Zajac. Let's see here. Andrew's project is called Resident Care. And Andrew, who is also a recent high school graduate, has been fascinated with technology and the way that it's evolved. He became a certified nursing assistant, or CNA, when he turned 16. And it's the reason that he has chosen his solo project to be based around the workflow and things that he had learned. And his application is called the Resident Care app. Andrew, the floor is all yours.
All right, thank you. Let me just share the screen. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Zajac, and I'm a part of the Minsky cohort here at Emerging Digital Academy, and I'm happy to present a demo of my project, Resident Care. A little backstory. The reason why I chose to create the Resident Care app was because I was a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant. The day after I turned 16 years old, I wanted to build something that was related to the job I knew pretty well after 3 years of working here. The Resident Care app is made so the care center, like a nursing home, that is using it can correctly relay information to whichever state they reside in. Each task a resident has contains assistant levels. The assistance levels for each task determine how much money every resident, which is a person who is living at the care center, will need to pay in order to live at the care center. Meaning the more dependent the resident is on the staff, the more money they are charged. The app itself cannot calculate the money, as that is not the purpose of it, and a future goal would be having the app be able to download files of the residents so the information can be sent to the state. A care center needs an app to chart the resident's dependence level, which determines how much a resident is billed. Also, the care center needs an app that allows them to keep track of when a resident is admitted, changes rooms, and is discharged. The solution is the Resident Care app. Every user initially registered will be a CNA. Resident Care gives any user, CNA and admin, the ability to complete tasks for each individual resident by clicking a dependence level. A completed task turns green, and if all tasks are completed on a resident, the resident turns green. Admins are the other type of user, and they will have the ability to admit and discharge residents. But they'll also be able to set the residents' allergies and assign them rooms. Another feature only the admin sees will be a history page of all the residents and information about them. Each resident will then have a button that brings them to a transaction log that dates when they were admitted, assigned, or changed rooms, and discharged. My demonstration, which I already logged in as an admin, and when I admit a resident as the admin, they'll show up like John Craver here with no room ID, just their birthday, and the assigned room and assigned allergies are only seen as admin. And that is from the admit resident location. And if I go back to active residents, as a CNA or admin, I can click onto John Craver, and let's say I helped walk him in corridor as a CNA, and he was supervision or setup. So I click supervision setup, turns green, go to back to residence, and walking corridor is now green. I go back to residence here. As the admin, I can assign the room, which I'll assign him to room 2, and it disappears from the available rooms as it is not available anymore. And it pops up here. And now I can assign allergies. I'll add mold and latex. And now if I click onto his information, allergies has latex and mold. and that's CNAs can only do the task information of that. So as an admin, I can go to the all residents information and it'll show every single resident that has ever been admitted, whether they've been discharged or not. I can go to the information of John Craver, and he has been admitted and only went to one room. So if I discharge him, he'll discharged will be the status. And if I go to view history, resident discharged, and that is that would end of him. And now if I go back to, got something blocking my thing right now. There we go. All right. Now, summary. The resident care app is a great need for care centers. The main reason is that knowing how much to bill someone is a huge component of running a business. And in order for the care center to know this information, they need to know how dependent a resident is with help. Also, there are a lot of strict laws against elderly vulnerability. And that is my contact information. And any questions?
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Also, that little Zoom bar can get you, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, great work. So we'll let the questions kind of trickle in here, or we'll reuse some of the other ones. But also, great job. I think that you certainly overcame some challenges on the data side. Could you talk a little bit about what it's like looking at a data-driven application, especially from a workflow and process side, right? There's some complications, relationships, a lot of nuance with how the data flows between various entities and systems there. What was it like getting up to speed on that? And how did you, did you come across any challenges, any surprises from the data perspective, like how everything's interlinked?
Oh yeah, definitely ran into some problems with the database structure, and I scoped it all out before, but it was ended up needing a lot more added to it. I definitely underestimated the connections needed, and so figuring out what table needs to be connected, if I need another like table combining a couple tables to flow the data through better. So I went through a couple challenges with that for sure.
Great. Tell us a little bit more too about your transaction log. How did that come into play, and why is that? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, but why do you think that's an important part of your application?
Well, the transaction log was definitely my favorite part of it, and it is especially needed for an app like this when care centers, they don't totally want to delete the data. So that's why I have the discharge, and it keeps every single person's data there. But like knowing where someone is, like when they are admitted, if they changed rooms and discharge is very important for the nursing home or whatever care center it is, just because with like medical type fields like that, keeping records tracked is very, very important.
Great. Got a domain specific question here from Chad Knutson, who asks, does HIPAA compliance play a factor, and just any commentary on HIPAA compliance?
Like, just trying to think. I mean, it definitely plays a factor, like having it so like the health part of it, like making sure I for this project itself, I made it so the user can just register, but for a future aspect of it, I am going to make it so that the admin can like make different users and then just give the user information to the like CNA. So then there is like no way of getting into it that way. But like as part of the insurance part of HIPAA, um, again with like the elderly laws and stuff like that, it definitely like this app, like I said, doesn't actually calculate it, but it gives the information to calculate it. And just based off of that, any healthcare field and app for the field definitely has stuff to do with HIPAA.
Sure. Oh, and I know that just as an aside, there are some hosting solutions that can handle a lot of the data concerns, encryption, and all of that as well, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then final question here would be, let's see, look at the time here. Yeah, how about what is an experience that you're most proud of? And try not to do too big of a compound question, something you're most proud of. And then what do you see? Do you have any plans for wanting to continue the project afterwards? Was more of a prototype? Do you think there's any potential customers you'd want to talk to and kind of continue the feature build out? Something you're proud of, and then long-term plans, if any, and it's okay if there's no long-term plans. Just curious about that. That comes from a combination of Kara and Jonathan Borey.
Okay, yeah. Something I was proud of was, like I said, the transaction log. Getting that figured out and working was definitely a great part of the project. And for future work on this project, like I did a future goal on like making the PDF, like having a PDF file on it and being able to send that out, but also like having shift dates and times. So after like 8 hours, the tasks reset, and being able to go back and things like that, just being able to have more like access and utility wise for that reason. Once I get that, then maybe, being able to sell it would be cool, but I got a lot of work for it to be able to even be sold right now.
Well, great. Thank you, Andrew. Nice work.
Yep.
Good work.